And show comments on stage. Boom. All right, there we go. Okay, one thing that's like low-key fucking me up right now is I am not seeing that we are live, actually. Oh, never mind. Okay, boom.
Oh, yeah, I see it on YouTube now, yeah.
Yeah. I'm literally watching myself. Okay.
Clutch. Cool.
Bet. Okay. I just hope. The only thing that's worrying me is that I'm not seeing like the difference between the comments and like a private chat. Oh, never mind. Okay, I see it. All right, bet. Boom. Don't worry about it. Fuck it. I think we in here. We're Gucci. We're good. We are good, and it looks like we should be. Yes. Can someone, anybody, is anybody out there? Can you hear me? If you can, say yes. Say what's up. Someone, anybody. Didn't mean for that to show up. In the background. Hey, there we go. There we go. If you post it, the people will come. But yeah, man. So like, what I wanted to ask you before was just like, is there anything like outside of work that you like want to do? Because I know like your schedule being crazy, you might not have enough time for yourself to just do random shit.
My favorite thing to do is nothing.
I feel that.
Like I like to sleep, and I like uninterrupted sleep where like I'm not worried about work calling me or whatever it is. I only get that a few times a year. So that's really it. Shout out to Polterghost for the card game. Appreciate that support.
For real, for real. Let us know. Come back through to the live when you actually had a chance to, play the card game, or hell, if you even, just went through the prompts. You know what I'm saying? Let us know what you think. Let the people know what you think. Shout out to you. We appreciate that. You know what? Fuck that. That actually deserves. Hold on. I got something for you, Portugal. I got something for you, my brother. Hold on. Let me give me a second. Give me a second, my good brother or sister, or they, them. I'm gonna find it. All right. Hold on. You ready? All right now. But nah, bro.
I didn't hear it.
You didn't hear?
No, I didn't. I don't know if other people heard it.
What? You didn't hear?
I think it's the most important part is can the chat hear it, because I definitely didn't hear nothing.
Oh my God. What? That's never what? Oh shit. Damn, that's crazy. Now I got oh no. What? Audio. Okay, all right. What about now? Thank you for the Grammy.
Yeah, now I got you.
There we go. All right, had to get the correct plug in.
Got you.
Another thing, bro, technology be fucking people up just on the regular, dog. Like, I didn't change anything. Okay, that's a bit. Appreciate that for letting me know. Mike, better. Cool.
But what about you, Josh? What you got in the pipeline? You always on some sort of adventure. I know you got something else in the works.
Man, bro, I ain't gonna hold you, dog. Like, this year has been more so like dedicated to like adulting, like getting my shit together. Doctor's visits, like, nothing like fun, like per se. Like doctor's visits, doing the taxes, continuing with therapy, which is like a lot of just things I'm thinking, okay, like this is gonna cost like money versus this is going to be an expense going out versus income coming in. And I have to
Mhm.
like plan, okay, this year might be like a rebuilding year depending on like how much X, Y, and Z might cost. So I'm prepared to rebuild. And luckily, I ain't gonna hold you. Taxes was the main thing I was concerned about, but your boy got a little blessing. Your boy got a little return. So I was over the moon with that. So I'm like, okay, that actually changes a lot of things
Yeah, that's always a plus.
for sure. But with that, and I mean like true, well with that, like the crazy thing is, dog, I don't even want to fucking like I don't even want to travel like that right now. Because the whole shit with ICE being in airports, the whole thing with the
Shut
government
down.
shutdown, not paying the TSA agents, it just don't seem like a good time. Like, why the fuck would I go to the airport and stand in a line that is wrapped around not even the inside of the building, but the outside of that motherfucker? And you have been to the Atlanta airport,
Mhm.
one of the biggest and busiest airports in the world. You missing your flight, like, and niggas ain't getting paid. Like, what? Terrible time to travel. So, and I don't know how long this is gonna go on.
At least another week because Congress is in, the House is on break. They all dipped out of town. Um, they got more breaks than any other profession I know, but whatever. That's neither here nor there.
Nigga, unnatural amount of breaks. Like they just say fuck it whenever they want to. Then there's like posts like, oh, the Democrats tried, a couple different ways to pay the the TSA agents, and the Republicans shot them down every time. And so yeah, but hopefully they get that shit at least together. But it just this whole involvement with ICE being in the airports, TSA not getting paid, like just the structure of how we're used to traveling is kind of like changing. And apparently, I don't know, like this is in like Project 2025 as well. Like one of the things in like Project 2025 was replacement of the TSA agents with like government officials or some other government officials, which is coming in the form of ICE. So it's just like
Yeah.
one other thing that's being checked off like the Project 2025 like checklist.
Yeah, I don't think that's gonna happen. The Republicans have already lost this.
Yeah.
Yeah,
What
they've already lost.
what make you say that?
The Democrats got exactly what they wanted. The Senate passed a bill that included DHS funding without any ICE or Border Patrol like funding. That's going to be looked at separately.
Oh,
That could still be worse for everybody because both Trump and the Senate Majority Leader basically said that they would just try to get ICE funding passed in reconciliation, and if they go through reconciliation, a second form of reconciliation, then they can probably pass a lot of the stuff in his election agenda as a part of that. That would be an uncommon path, but it's something that they can do. Like they can do that.
mm,
So that could potentially be worse. But I don't know how serious they are about doing that because that would set like an immediate bad precedent for them.
mhm.
Um, but as of right now, like the Democrats, like they won this. The Senate passed a bill that was what the Democrats wanted them to do.
Yeah.
Um, and also as I like to remind people all the time, like there's no reason why we have to have DHS in its current form or TSA at all. Like that shit didn't exist before 9/11. Like in our lifetimes, that didn't exist. So um I don't think there's any leverage that they have to say, well, this was bad, so now we got to replace them with this. Even though you're correct, that is in Project 2025, but I just don't think that's going to happen.
I hope not. I mean, there's other things in Project 2025 that have come to pass that are worse than that. But it's just I guess in the overall grand scheme of things, in terms of a regime form, a regime reform that's going in like the opposite direction of like where we want to go for like the overall people, it's not a good look at all, and it's just extremely. It's actually very terrifying to me because
Yeah, I
these,
will.
yeah,
Yeah, I will say that for Project 2025, they made it very clear that they didn't think they would get anything done out of that after the first 100 days because they feel like resistance would galvanize to see what
mm,
they were doing. So one, they're already past that point. Two, they only passed roughly like 30% of what they thought they would do from that perspective. Um, so they basically knew they would be in lame duck status by this point, in that plan. So that's one of those things that people have been touting from that perspective, is that like resistance like semi worked from that perspective. Like they weren't
yeah,
able to pass most of their agenda, like the vast majority of their agenda from that like didn't pass. And the architects of that agenda basically said, we got 100 days to do this, or like people are gonna get wise to the shit that we doing, and it's not gonna work. And we're already past that point. So again, like there's still stuff that can be done, especially if they blow up, some long-standing precedents. But I think the GOP. I've said this several times that I think I need a who's really the king moment. I need
hmm
a because what happens is everybody's like, well, they're doing this and they're doing this. Trump and the Russell Vaughts and the Stephen Millers of the world, they do what they do as long as, in my opinion, as long as it lines up with what the general Republican power sphere wants them to do anyway.
hmm
So I'm really curious to continue to see what happens when what they want clashes with what the rest of the GOP power structure says, and who really wins that stuff. And we're only just now beginning to see what that looks like. Um, I do think as the election picture looks worse and worse for the GOP, I think we need to see what they're willing to do to pass that Save Act bullshit. But I don't think even the Save Act saves them, because what the Save Act does is actually going to disenfranchise a lot of the GOP base as well, which is why I believe the Republicans don't want to dismiss the filibuster to pass it, because they know that it would hurt them as well. And the people that it would disenfranchise is actually not really where they want to. What they want to target is independent voters, right? So like if you do this Save Act shit and you target, very very stupid forms of voter identification, because like there are some forms of voter identification that are actually very popular on both sides of the aisle. But if you do this Save Act and you make it so, I gotta have like this, all this kind of shit, no longer, able to do mail-in absentee ballots like this,
hmm
you don't really move the needle in terms of who Trump has pissed off the most, which is independent white voters. Independent white voters hate this man, and independent white voters have those means of identification. So you kind of just like, you're doing all this shit for nothing, and then just gonna get repealed to when the power structure changes. That being said, I do still think that it sets a dangerous precedent if they pass it. So I do need to see like what really happens with some of these kind of things where he has actual opposition within his party. Because right now he hasn't had any opposition to his party. He's even said that. He said that he's been surprised at how little resistance he's had to what he's like pushed through. But it's because he's been following kind of the party line, really. And I want to see what happens when he goes up against the party, because that'll tell us what really will happen when, push comes to shove come November.
Okay, and that's when the midterms happen. Is that right?
Mhm.
Gotcha.
Yeah,
And I mean, shit, because I mean, like, he's got, and I don't want to see like too deep into politics. I want to get into some fun shit too, or some just other waving a red flag, type shit too. But
yeah, for
from my
sure.
understanding, like, he's not doing well in terms of polling. He's like, even though like he's got far too many supporters and far too many people that thinks that he's doing phenomenally well in terms of a percentage of people amongst the populace. I don't give a fuck if he's down 70-30. 30% of however hundreds of millions of people that say, hey, no, that's my guy. He's doing a phenomenal job. You put all the motherfuckers in one place, that is a scary amount of people. And these people are
For sure.
everywhere,
For sure.
so but I think hopefully come November, we'll see what happens. You know, yeah, we'll just see what happens, and yeah, we can get it. Yeah. I'll just leave
It's
it at that. Mhm.
Yeah, and it's a lot. It's a lot of big dominoes that's going to fall. Like I'm actually fairly confident. I'm actually fairly confident um, that no amount of save back stuff keeps the GOP in power of the House. I'm pretty sure the House flips. I
Yeah.
am. It's actually a pretty reasonable. It's still early ish, and it's still kind of in toss up state if you really look at the models. But it's a pretty reasonable um assertion that the Republicans could gain ground in the Senate,
Mhm.
though, just because of the races that are up. Like there are some people that are particularly vulnerable. So I really think the Georgia race is going to tell people a lot as well, because Ossoff is quite like just honestly, he's the most vulnerable senator like running right now. I would say right behind him is the main race with how that shakes out for Collins, but like I would say Collins is historically much more popular, and in like a much more stable situation, even though the GOP candidates are surging. But it will be very reasonable that John Ossoff could lose in Georgia. Like that wouldn't be far fetched. If he lost,
Yeah.
I'd be like, okay, he lost. So I think we do need to keep an eye on the Senate, but I'm actually fairly confident that the Dems take the House,
Yeah. And
regardless of what the Save Act does.
well, hopefully, because I mean, even with John Ossoff, I mean, I've heard like, of course, like no matter what or no matter what politician you speak about, I've always heard like they're not who you think they are. You remember that time 9 years ago when they voted this way and everyone, and when they should have voted the other way? Yeah, no, they ain't shit either. And I'm like, God damn, nigga, like, do you want? It's like, do you want this nigga or this other person? Like, that would at least dampen the effects of like the worst thing that could happen, or just at least be better,
Yeah.
or at least be more focused minded on the people versus like introducing like all these other just talking points that are ultimately become like somewhat useless when it comes to, okay, hey, how do we move the needle forward? We are in such a terrible
Mhm.
position that right now we have these couple people that could give us some hope that would kind of help to reverse these things or certain things. But it's like, no, Jasmine Crockett, you remember back in 2017, she voted for a bill that had this thing in it. So I can't fuck with her. So who you fucking with? Third party nigga, but they not doing nothing. Like, they not gonna move the needle.
Yeah. I think that's a really good, like a really good conversation, because I think that a lot of people, in particular young voters and extreme leftist voters, I think everybody should have their red lines, right? So for example, I think everybody, is entitled to have something where it can be like the best politician otherwise, but if they don't support this set of things that are core to how I think a politician should move in the world, then I just can't vote for them. I think everybody's entitled to their red lines. I have red lines.
Mhm.
Um, if somebody doesn't support like the Voters' Rights Act, I'm like, I don't really, fuck with you like that. Like there are red lines, and I think people are entitled to their red lines. And I think that um the onus should be on the politicians, the elected official, to navigate people's red lines in a way that, serves their base. So I'm fine with that. I have no issue with that.
Yeah.
What I do think is that when people don't make it like a true red line situation, when they make it like to your point, like a virtue signaling kind of situation, where it's like, I'm just going to like make this a virtue signal situation where I'm not going to vote for this person based on, very, very minute, very small things and all this kind of stuff. Whereas, this person overall is fine and like they could move the needle and kind of help from that perspective. I think that people do need to not be single or even very limited issue voters outside of their very clear red lines. Um, but I think what we have a lot of is people drawing red lines out of things that should kind of be kind of dash lines, in a lot of situations where they should be, And I think that a lot of that is because in the zeitgeist of internet discourse on this stuff is you have a lot of people that, just being frank, didn't start following like politics at all until 2020. You just had people that, like, based on the age of the people in internet discourse, based on, you know, the age of when people like woke up to when that happened, like a lot of people don't know what politics has looked like, and like they don't know what has moved needles before. They don't know trends. They don't know anything about the fact that, like, when you coalition build, sometimes you're coalition building with people that you don't necessarily like. Sometimes like that has to be strategic. Sometimes that's life. But I do think that this past election, a lot of people drew red lines where they shouldn't have. They should have been softer lines. And I hope that maybe they see that sometimes they should be a little bit more flexible. But that being said, you know, to end that off, I do think people can and should have like red lines.
Yeah.
Like you should have them. Like I think everybody should look within themselves and be like, this is my red line. And I think nobody should talk anybody out of having those kind of things. I think that we just need to be better about negotiating what our individual red lines are.
I am okay. Brilliant, per usual, brilliantly said. I definitely agree with you. Like we should have the red lines. It's just my thing is with that is maybe I'm about to contradict myself, because it's just like you can have your red line, but read the room. Like sometimes, like just like read the room, because like sometimes it might not be a time to express a certain like red line. Like if someone did like something insignificant, or like maybe hell, it could have been something significant like in the past, but it's like, damn, like this is like the best person that we have to be able to combat this current evil that we're facing. No one's perfect, and I'm not trying to be on some La Russell shit, and we can, you know, get into that if that's something that we want to talk about. But it's like, because it sometimes it just takes away from the real conversation, or like the real threat to a problem that we were talking about, and then we start talking about a promising candidate. And I just like I like Jasmine Crockett as a politician, or at least how the idea of a Jasmine Crockett as a politician, I like that, and I like her. You know what I'm saying? Black woman, intelligent. She seems to be for the people. She snapped back. She got come back. She be in the office, like, you know what I'm saying? I popping shit, you know what I'm saying? Professionally. You know what I'm saying? I like that. But I can say, for instance, if we have someone like her, and then like you got people who don't agree with her politics, and it might not even be something that's truly destructive for the people, but just if they just don't agree and they can make like a good case for, oh, I don't fuck with her, this is my red line. When it's like, hey, it could either be Jasmine Crockett or Donald Trump, or Jasmine Crockett or JD Vance. Well, I don't like Vance, but you know, I would vote for Crockett, but you know, back in 2019, like it's like, nigga, like, so the fuck what? Like you kind of like you're red, like you bringing up your red line to the point where it don't matter. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, I will say that, like, there have been some pretty notable situations where I think voters made what, like, a lot of people would say is like the mature right choice in terms of like the ballot and like maintaining a balance of power. And I'm speaking specifically about I'm thinking like Kristen Sinema. I'm thinking what's the old boy in Pennsylvania's name? I always forget his name. Fetterman. Yeah. So it's like a lot of people were saying, like, you know, you take the lesser of two evils kind of approach. You take the situation where, like, well, at least this is a Dem. At least this is somebody who will caucus with the Dems. At least the Dems can maintain like the power in the situation. And that really shot the Dems in the foot because you get into this situation where trying to make the mature decision basically shoots everybody in the foot, and you have like people that are basically fucking Republicans, like in those seats, right? So I do think that while I agree with you, like, for sure, like I do agree with you, I do also think that sometimes having some harder but more intelligently like defined red lines like saves us from the situations where you have a Fetterman or a Kristen
Yeah.
Sinema in office, because they have no reason to be like how they are, other than like they pulled the wool over some people's eyes. Well, not even really pulled the wool over some people's eyes. I think people literally made a decision. They were like, it's this person or a Republican, and I don't think they realized. And I I'd be self-critical. I don't even necessarily know. I realized it exactly how bad they would be for the Democratic Party, like overall. So I think that's like a cautionary tale to just being like, let's put this person in there because we think this will, this will be better than the alternative. Sometimes it's not. Sometimes it sets us back a little bit. Sometimes we need to take a step back and say, like, what would happen if we don't let this person be in office? Like, how does that move the needle? How does that push an agenda? How does that do things? So
Yeah.
I do think that we can be overall in either aspect of it a little bit more intelligent about how we do it. But I think we also need to give grace to the fact that, and I will say I can work on this a little bit better, because I think I'm very quick to say, well, people don't understand this because they just start following politics a couple of years ago. And I'm like, man, well, everybody started somewhere. So I think we can do a little bit better about educating people about like what those kind of things look like and how they can navigate those situations a little bit better to maybe pick better candidates and maybe hold candidates a little bit better accountable. And then how, if you have consistent voting, then maybe you build a trend with that situation and they know they can't ignore your block. And then, your block has power and you can kind of push an agenda and you can kind of force somebody to do this or that. Which, despite what the internet thinks, is very possible. You can very much force a politician to do something. You can force a group of politicians to do something that has already happened. So I do think, all of that kind of that's not a contradiction to what you said, because I agree with you. It's more of a yes and to what you're saying.
Yeah, and it'd be like that sometimes, bro. I mean, it's very complicated. It's extremely nuanced. It's extremely nuanced, and I mean, like, I think that's really the main part, is having conversations like this where we say contradictory things, because like, just because like one person feels a certain way and another person feels another way, it doesn't necessarily mean like what you're saying is false. Like, it's contradictions. Like, that's life. It's an oxymoron, and both two things can be true without necessarily negating one or the other. Well, two things can be true that clash against the other, but if you talk to two different people with two different lenses, like, those things still are true. So, but I think that's really the most important thing in terms of the intelligence of the people voting and like understanding things, especially when you get into politics. And I am not a political person. Like, I am hanging on by my bootstraps listening to Alvin right now. I'm like, okay, yeah, okay, I get that. I don't know what that means. Okay, but I'm ready to respond. So, but I think that just goes like a long way in that, and just understanding and having that, and having that discernment, if you will, when it comes to like that sort of thing.
Yeah, like the prime example I give all the time is that Barack Obama is moderate with the capital M.
Mm.
Barack Obama is the most moderate Democrat like you can possibly be. Like, he is dead center. Barack Obama is so dead center on like even most social issues. This is a man that didn't agree with same-sex marriage when he first like got on the national stage, for example, right?
Mm.
And then he started running on national stage and people was like, Barack, that's dumb. And he was like, you know what, touche. Now you know what I mean? Like you
Yeah,
see, like you see that kind of stuff. And
yeah.
because and again, like Barack Obama's like, that's a really good example, because you can see like his progression where he like stepped into that realization,
Oh yeah,
right?
you saw it happen in real time.
Yeah, he went from being, just like against it, for largely fiscal reasons, and then he stepped up. He stepped into a stage where he was like, "Well, I support civil unions for same-sex marriage, and then I support the the legalization of civil unions that allow people to have some of the benefits of marriage." And then, like again, he listened to the base. He saw where the wind was going with that. And he did this also in a point where he was literally listening to his base, because as I remind people all the time, when same-sex marriage during those days, I think it would be different now, but when same-sex marriage during those days was put on ballots, it lost. Same-sex marriage lost on a ballot in California. Like, I don't think people understand that.
Mm.
Like, the courts made same-sex marriage legal initially, right? There have been a lot of states that have since codified that based on the Supreme Court ruling, but the courts did that. So, just as an example, like if I had drew like, you know, hard lines for Barack Obama, I think we would have missed out as a country, because Barack Obama, regardless of what people think about his history in terms of military conflict, was phenomenal for the country. Barack Obama is on every metric, probably outside of some of the human rights stuff internationally, one of the best presidents that the United States has ever had. And also he's not an at worst, he's not an outlier in terms of international conflict.
Okay, yeah, okay, because that's what I was about to say. Like, you just said it like a lot better than I was going to say it, but like the shit that the past American presidents have done internationally and domestically. I'm talking about like back in the days of Andrew Jackson, when motherfuckers was like forming the country, still kind of, or like forming like what modern politics look like.
Yeah,
egregious.
every American president over the last 115 years has bombed another country. So, or attacked, you know, because some of this stuff was happening, you know, before bombs, but like attacked another country. So I do think that, again, like people need to be open to the idea of, you know, how do we define our red lines, and how do we as a base consolidate enough influence consistently where that you can force a needle, because these people want to maintain power. I think people forget that too. Do you know why Donald Trump is even pushing the SAVE Act? Do you know why the SAVE Act is a conversation? Is because these people want votes to legitimize their power, and they want to stay in power. They fear that. They fear not being in power. So if they're fighting that hard to maintain the legitimacy of their power, that means that there's power in what they're fighting to like retain that legitimacy with. So there's power in voting. So I think that people should, you know, continue to leverage that, you know, as a piece of the toolkit, not the only piece of the toolkit, because there's definitely things people can and should be doing outside of voting. Voting is not the only thing that anybody should be doing as far as being civilly engaged and all that kind of stuff, in my opinion. But just remember that, like, you know, be flexible with your red lines, because if I had not been flexible with my red lines, or a lot of people had not been flexible with their red lines, like Barack Obama probably wouldn't have happened twice. And Barack Obama happening twice was a net positive for the world.
I would wholeheartedly agree with you on that. And with that being said, you want to introduce this bad boy that we doing tonight?
Yeah, welcome to Waving the Red Flag, the #1 political discourse podcast that is broadcasting right now at 9:33 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. Once it goes over to the next minute, I have absolutely no idea. You know, it could be a completely different podcast. It could still be us. I don't know, but y'all can stay tuned to find out. I'm also hoping to not discuss politics at all for the rest of this live. So let's pick something else.
You want to tell him where Eddie at? You know where Eddie at? You have an idea? I think I might know. I don't know.
That nigga probably at a protest at this point. He probably out there, you know, making it happen, you know, showing that he's the world's biggest leftist. Let me not put that on him. Let me not, because somebody will run with that shit. You know, let's just say he's out painting his house or some shit. I don't know.
There you go. There you go. Well, hey, it's your boy Eddie. Excuse me, damn. It is not your boy Eddie. I'm not Eddie.
It is your boy Eddie. Okay, yeah.
Hey, he's here in spirit, but
100%.
now, gosh, waving a red flag, drop a bomb.
That was great.
No politics. Moving forward, let's have some fun tonight. But watch, the next shit we talk about is going to get serious.
Yeah, you can make anything serious.
Yeah, right. Which we normally do. What you want to You want to talk about Mark Lamont Hill on identifying as a feminist? Some of the Jay-Z stuff.
I'm fine with either of those. Actually.
Okay, well, okay. As a palate cleanser, have you seen any of the J. Cole interviews?
I saw one clip. Most of the discourse I saw around J. Cole was basically based on the Jay-Z interview. Because they said similar things as I'm tracking. But no, I didn't see most of the J. Cole interview.
What was,
like I saw like two clips.
Shout out to you, my brother. What was the context of the thing that you saw in the J. Cole interview?
Basically the point about how that beef with Kendrick and Drake became something that both J. Cole and Jay-Z said they didn't really like. Mostly because it became, not about music. It became personal indictments of character, which I think is clear that it did, but I also think that like that's kind of beef. But I also think that like I don't want to get too deep into it because I'm sure we're just gonna like if we want to talk about that, we probably need to just show the clip a little bit and then we can get like some more
I got
takes on it.
clip, and I'm already seeing comments in the chat like y'all gonna hate what I got to say.
I mean, my big thing is like I think that take makes more sense when Jay-Z says it than when Cole says it. Just being honest, because Jay-Z saying like the beef is stupid and like it just tears people down and it's not good for that kind of stuff. That's also stuff that Jay-Z has said about himself and his own beefs. He said that about him and Nas. But I also think that could perhaps be via the lens of the fact that like the vast majority of people think he lost the Nas beef. Like it's the consensus that he lost. So him saying like, oh, we shouldn't have did this. This was bad for hip hop. Kind of also sounds like some loser shit.
He kind of has like an agency in it. So it's like, well, you're on the losing end of it. So
yeah, like of course you think that shit. Like I'm like, all right, cool.
I want to get. I know people. Especially like the leftist community, or the people that know more than I do about his business dealings and have a problem with that. That's the easy like, man, fuck that shit. Of course, nigga. Of course I don't like this nigga. Same thing with Drake. Like I don't like this motherfucker. So anything is fair game to this person that I don't know and that I don't like, that I know enough about, and the stuff that I know about them, I don't like about them. The shit that you doing well, I don't give a fuck about. But we'll just go ahead and roll the clip about Jay-Z talking about the rap beef.
And I love the sparring and the music you get. But in this day and age, it's so much negative stuff that comes with it that you almost wish it didn't happen.
Really?
Yeah, because it's almost like it's a final thing. Now people that like Kendrick hate Drake.
Yeah.
No matter what he makes, no matter what he says, and it goes far too. It's like attack on his character and his thing, and it's like, I don't know if I love that.
Yeah.
I don't know if it's helpful to our growth where the fallout lands, especially on on social media, which takes place every day.
Yeah.
And now you have these pods of cult.
The Stan armies fighting.
Yeah, and it's like, it's too far.
Yeah.
It's like bringing kids in it.
Yeah.
And it's like, I don't like that. Maybe I've grown in a space that is probably, I sound like the old guy wagging the thing. But I think we can achieve the same thing as far as like sparring with music, with collaborations more so than breaking the whole thing apart.
Yeah.
It could stand it before because there was no social media and there was no thing. And, you had the battle and it was fun and then you moved on.
Right.
Right now, I don't know if it could stand it with the technology that we have.
Because it takes up so much oxygen.
It takes up so much oxygen.
Yeah.
And now it's just like every day they're just trying to
still talking about it.
It's not just talking about it. Not like, yo, this song, I like this.
Yeah.
No, it's like trying to tear down the people's life.
Yeah, yeah.
It's like trying to, wreck this guy's marriage or this guy's relationship with his child. And it's like, I don't know, man. I don't know if it's worth it at this point.
Yeah.
I don't know.
It's interesting. A personal thing that you chose Kendrick for the Super Bowl. It's like, oh man, he's choosing the side and he's he's not.
Like, I don't
playing this whole thing.
What do I have to do with that? I chose the guy that was having a monster year. I think it was the right choice.
Word.
It wasn't in some sort of alliance to a battle. I don't.
Yeah.
What I care about them two guys battling, like, what's that got to do with me?
Word.
Have at it. Have fun. It's almost like not just me, by the way. They drag everybody in it. Like everyone's part of this conspiracy to
Josh, we gonna watch this whole clip.
Drake, I guess. But like, what the
because I got it. You got thoughts to jump in on? I feel like you do. I feel like your take is gonna probably be the most interesting one based on how you jumped in.
So I mean, I gotta watch my back because I just know how people feel about Jay-Z. But
Yeah.
hey, I grew up in a house like my house was a Jay-Z house. And I'm speaking from the standpoint of a listener, not necessarily focused on his life and all of his business dealings, which even then, some of them like, hey, ooh, okay, yeah, that's a very complicated minutia of things. So, hey, in terms, I'll just go ahead and jump in. In terms of what he's saying about rap beefs, I'm a little bit split, but when it does get to a certain point about when it gets like a Kendrick or a Drake, we start like going like really personal and bringing in people's families and the kids and their wives, their mamas, their daddies. It's like they ain't had nothing to do with this unless so like some Gucci Mane type shit, or when they mamas was kind of involved in the scenes, like they mamas, they manager, type shit, and they was involved with certain things, but even then, it's like that could ultimately end up to somebody losing their life, and we've seen that time and time again. Like we've seen, with most infamously, Tupac, Big. Like we lost two great lyricists, and not even necessarily saying two great human beings, but two great lyricists or two monumental like Black figures that we did have in our community, and like their lives were cut short. Who knows what they could have done in their latter years? And I'm seeing like comments right now. It's like, oh man, like I see why well, who said it? This ain't. I'm not trying to put you on the wall of shame, good person. Someone got to stop Jay-Z. Why? Okay, someone got to stop Jay-Z. I see why. I see why people want hip hop to be a young man's game. These old heads be tripping. It's like, what do we mean by that? Like, a motherfucker is just speaking with maturity. Like, I get it. If you just want to see, if you are the type of person that enjoys seeing like other people fighting other people's drama, I can definitely understand why you would not want to be like, nah, fuck that. We need rap beef. This shit is exciting. It ain't got nothing to do with me. I love watching other niggas fight. And a lot of people like watching other niggas fight to their own death, like niggas. There's always been people who are into that, but for the people involved, unless it's some purely evil motherfuckers, then I ain't got no problem with seeing what I'm saying, get them up out of here. But I just don't believe. I kind of see where he's coming from, because I would rather more so have more collaboration over conflict.
Yeah.
Y'all two could get on the song together and like really see who had the best ball, who really bodied the beat the best. And like there might be like a different way that we could go about it and still get the same entertainment value versus the tearing down and the lying. Because even in the Kendrick and the Drake beef, both of them was lying on each other. Like there was lies told on each other from both sides. It's just if you hate Drake, you're gonna believe it. You want to believe everything Kendrick says. If you hate Kendrick, you want to believe everything Drake said.
The only thing I'll say, because I think your perspective is very much akin to Jay-Z's perspective, and I think that the weird thing for me is that people automatically assume that rap beef has to escalate to a point where like it impacts lives or careers, because we've had plenty of rap beefs where it was just rap and that was fine.
Mm-hmm.
Like Meek Mill is alive. you know what I mean? Like,
yeah,
and Meek Mill's career, Meek Mill's career probably took a hit from that perspective, and also like his relationship. But Meek Mill released that album right after, like not right after that, but some years after that. What was it? Champions was on that shit, and like that shit did just fine. Or like Jay-Z and Nas beefed, and there was no gunplay. Them niggas was just talking crazy on tracks.
Yeah.
Jay-Z has beef with other people since the Nas beef. I don't know if people recall that shit. Like people forget the Jay-Z and Cameron situation.
Hell, Jay-Z, Joe Budden.
Yeah, like I mean, Jay-Z has like released diss tracks like post that shit that like had like heat on it. I'm thinking like Dig a Hole. I'm thinking like his verse and Watch What You Say to Me. Like this shit happens. I'm thinking like even like some lighter shit. I'm thinking like Machine Gun Kelly and Eminem. Like people rap and like it happens and like it's fun. It can happen. I do think that there's two things that I think make this not hold water for me for Drake. I think one, some of this Drake brought on himself by just living in a way that was easily like it was easy to quote unquote tear Drake down. Like that was the life the nigga was living. Like you hiding your kid, that type shit. You know, like he made himself very easy to pick apart. And I maintain that the real reason why nothing stuck with Kendrick is because Kendrick lives a life where like it's very difficult to take him apart. I maintain that that's why J. Cole got out of the beef. It was because J. Cole like put everything he had into that track, and he realized that like I have nothing left. And I know people disagree. We had that conversation before. And I know like Cole did a lot of over explaining on like how he did all that shit with all the whatchamacallit. But this is what I believe. I believe that Cole in 7 Minute Drill put everything he had into that shit. He realized that he probably can't beat Kendrick with another track if Kendrick responds. And Cole and again, Cole has lived a life where Cole is easy to take apart. And he was like, this nigga's probably got 3 tracks in the chamber just on like how the fuck I'm moving out here. He could just talk about the no name shit, how this nigga said he don't read, but he understand type shit. How this nigga was hiding his wife for like years, all this kind of shit. Cole, his biracial likeness and like all that kind of stuff about his weirdness with women and race, like, you know. So I think these rappers live in this situation where they live in glass houses, and it makes it easy. And I think that like when you engage in beef, when you live in that, well, maybe you need to sit the beef out. And then I also think that from a tearing down a career perspective, if Drake had just released better music, then we probably wouldn't even be talking to this. Like, if he had just released some better raps, like his rap track after this beef sort of like simmered down a little bit was "What Did I Miss?" And that was one of his weakest tracks in my opinion. And then he went hard left to try to do that shit with Party Next Door, which had some hits on it for sure, and sold pretty well. But like he didn't come out with any like mega hits. Like Kendrick had an album that was extremely well received on the heels of this. So I think if he had played the cards a little bit better, it wouldn't have mattered, because that's what Jay-Z did. Jay-Z lost that battle with Nas, and Jay-Z was still the biggest rapper in the game after that happened, because he dropped shit. So
classics right after that shit, and then on. Like that's just like a blemish in his record. But I think that's also another reason of why he has a valid opinion on rap beefs, is because like he saw his way out of it. And that's some shit that you actually have to live through. Like, I mean, of course, us as spectators, we're going to have our opinions, but I think we do also need to take into consideration the person that lived through it, their story they have to tell, and like give them some credence, because my nigga, you lived through it. You might have, and mind you, like that shit was way different back in his day than it is now, because like social media wasn't around. He could get away from it.
True.
Cole, there's no getting away from it. If you are online, if you have access to the internet or social media, you will see some shit about you. You can't get away from it. It's hard. That nigga Cole said he had to stop watching YouTube because I can't even watch like documentaries, because like I'm seeing all sorts of shit about me that's not even true. And I will say the thing with Cole, I do disagree with you on like President. I don't think now that the interview with Nadeska came out, and the other interview with Cameron, and then there's a 7 p.m. In Brooklyn interview with him and Mello, and you know, no disrespect to the other panel, but you know those guys over there in the gal over there. There's more context to it from him, a person that's actually lived through it, whom I do believe that we should at least give credence to and believe what they say. Like, no, not everyone is lying to you just from 0 to 100. Because like the shit that I was saying about him and like how he felt, because like I feel like I can relate to him as a person, like because I feel like J. Cole is like one of the most like genuine artists or superstars, rap superstars that we have, that is kind of like in the public eye, but not so much in the public eye. But like, you know, you can kind of like see J. Cole. You might not get a whole bunch of interviews, but he's in the public eye somewhat. And I feel like he is legitimately one of the most personable people and relatable people that we have in this space. So when he does go on an interview, I am more inclined to believe exactly what he's saying is the truth. And I thought during that whole like that beef thing, it wasn't because, well, what you said, like I do believe I can get behind what you said a little bit in terms of he ain't necessarily have like a bunch of more heat left in the chamber after he did 7 Minute Drill. As soon as I heard 7 Minute Drill, I'm like, this nigga don't even believe this shit. I can tell he don't believe none of this. But What you mean you dropped the album and I can't literate like I illiterate like I can't spell? I littered it like stop it. Stop the cap. You are one of this nigga's biggest fans. Stop it. You have no hate in your heart for this person. And the thing is that I've been holding to my chest with this whole like shit in terms of his involvement is J. Cole did want to beef. Like he did want to like have his like little rap moment. You know, nothing too serious, but he did want to spar like toe to toe in like a beef, but nothing too serious with somebody. He never would have seen that it would have been Kendrick and Drake that might have come ahead to. And he was never prepared for that. He never wanted that in any way, shape, or form. And that ain't got nothing to do with him being a real nigga, being a real man. The fact that he did what he did proves to me that he is a real nigga. He is a real man because he stood by his morals and his beliefs. And I would rather ride with somebody who stands by their morals and their beliefs and will be criticized by people because you stood by your morals and your beliefs. And hell, you can sleep at night because the thoughts and opinions of people who don't affect you won't shake your morals and your beliefs. So that's one, because like, and he basically like, you know, kind of expressed that in those interviews and just kind of gave like, you know, more of the whys, the details behind how he felt in the moment. But the thing that pisses me off is when people hear him and people hear him talking, oh, this nigga lying. He ain't mean that. This nigga fucking lying. Like, what kind of grand conspiracy do you think we living in? Or like, oh, he studied and trained for the interview. He's reading off a script.
I will say that I don't think somebody lying to save face from a rap beef situation is like the worst thing in the world. Like I don't like, for example, like if he's lying, like I don't think that makes him like the worst person ever. Like I don't care. Just like Jay-Z is my favorite rapper of all time, and he's on some like I think he's speaking from a loser's perspective with his interview. Even though I maintain, and this is an aside, but I maintain that in the modern era, I don't think Jay-Z loses that battle. Because I think people are versus Nas. Yeah, I don't think Jay-Z loses that battle. Like if you look at it round for round, I think Jay-Z won 2 rounds. But
yeah, but Ether was just such a everyone remembers Ether, but you know, no one.
I mean, as I say it all the time, even if you listen to 7 Minute Drill, the Takeover is one of the blueprints of like how people like approach like battle rap. Like you hear, you made it a hot line, I made it a hot song. The whole concept of putting somebody on that Summer Jam screen is the Takeover. It just you know, I could wax poetic about Takeover from all that kind of stuff. I think the issue with Ether is that Ether went up against that was Jay-Z's weakest round, because technically it was Ether and Super Ugly, and Super Ugly is just the weakest song that Jay-Z released in that. And the other stuff wasn't even really like tracks. Like when it started out, it wasn't even tracks. It was just like them on like mixtape shit, like saying little slick shit in like, you know, in verses. And then in response to that was when Takeover released, which I think Jay-Z won that round. And then Nas released Ether, and that was when Jay-Z released Super Ugly. And then I think Super Ugly again is weak. And so I think that there wasn't, he didn't come back hard enough. So like I think that's why people reasonably so say he won. But anyway, like going back to the initial point, I think that it's hard to just automatically give people the benefit of the doubt when they're speaking from a loser's perspective. Like I do believe that. I think that also understanding that people are human, like people want to save face a little bit when they have these situations, especially when they're very public, especially when you're talking about it the way you've described Cole was talking about it. We're like, I can't watch YouTube because people are talking about me that kind of way. And like, I can't do this. What you want to do is you want to give an interview that kind of explains this in a way where you think this goes away and you have to stop talking about this, you know, on some level. I think that happens quite a bit. I also don't think that makes him like a bad person. I don't think that makes him any less of one of the more genuine people in rap. I don't think that means that like, you know, like he's a bad person. I think that makes him human. Like humans do that shit. Humans want to save face in the face of like defeat all the time. That would be more reasonable to me than him taking these grandstanding approaches akin to a Jay-Z. Because again, like I said, I want to be very clear. I did not watch anywhere near as much of the J. Cole interviews as you did, but I watched almost all of the Jay-Z interview stuff. But when I get these people grandstanding from that perspective and want to take this like moral high ground from a hip hop perspective, despite the fact that, at least in the case of Jay-Z, not for J. Cole, I want to be very clear on the distinction here for that. In the case of Jay-Z, when have you ever cared about that kind of shit before, my nigga? Like, you know, like when you were beefing with Cam and Beanie, was that bigger than rap? Was that bigger than the culture when you were, you know, like taking those kind of pot shots from that perspective? And again, he had reasons for that, but like, you know, he don't talk to these niggas no more. He don't talk, you know, he wasn't burying the hatchet with Dame and Biggs. You know what I mean? Like, so it just rings a little hollow to me. It does feel to me like, it does feel to me legitimately like the Occam's razor situation of this is that they're just trying to save face. And I don't think that's bad. That's human.
Yeah, I guess maybe it's just maybe like the framing of it that's like striking me the wrong way. And I will say this in terms of Cole, not necessarily a Jay-Z. Well, I'll say this more in terms of Cole, is because I feel more comfortable, like, you know, I feel more comfortable in that versus like a Jay-Z.
Mm-hmm.
But I would say, yeah, in terms of when you do an interview, like when it's your time to speak, when you want to break your silence or whatnot, like after you've had some time to, like, you know, feel hurt, feel however you feel, like do some soul searching, whatever it is, because whatever you have to do in that time is human. But when it's your time to speak, and when someone approaches the stage or the mic and expresses their truth in a way that people can at least accept, or like the most people can accept, that is at least clear enough for the most people to accept. But at the end of the day, if you're expressing your truth, I think that's the main cutoff for me. It's like, okay, I get there might be like some media trained esque here and there, because like, hell, we do a podcast and we know we've all learned there's certain ways of how, in certain ways that we should express ourselves or how to say a certain thing versus how we might talk to each other just on the street, or if we were just texting and shit, because it's not for the masses. So if you're talking about some shit that's super personal for you, that happened to you for the masses, and you want to express your truth, like, yeah, I can get that. But when people like start talking like, oh, it's disingenuous, that's when I'm like, nah, that wasn't it. Like, I'm seeing like a good dude, like, who just, his heart wasn't in it. And like, he did some shit that he didn't believe in, literally apologized for, like, you know what, on a big stage, got his back kicked in for the damn verse, for the song. Cause like, nigga, this ain't like, really, I hope you got something else, because this ain't really it. And then got his back kicked in for the apology. And then how motherfuckers switch up on you about a month or two later, like, you know what? Hey, maybe it was a little too hard on Cole. Because the way this shit going, you know what? Yeah, I see why he might have backed out. But even then, like, for a motherfucker to have that sort of foresight, I respect it at the end of the day. And that's always been my stance with him.
And I will say, to kind of like give credence to what you're saying, is that people in the hip hop community were also not really receptive, and they called it corny when Jay-Z and Nas squashed the beef. Like before they collabed, like proper, you know, Jay-Z brought him out on stage, they shook hands and all that kind of stuff. And I remember Jim Jones like went off on both of them. It was more so on Jay, and I know that that's like personal history just because of the Dipset shit, but like he very much like went in on Jay. He was like, that was some sucker shit. He was like, this nigga beat you and all this kind of stuff, and we want to see y'all motherfuckers go at it, and then y'all out here shaking hands and shit. So Bro. I do think that people aren't receptive to like extending olive branches in the hip hop space. Like, I do think that people don't ever let you move past it.
Which is so stupid, which is so toxic, and that's so fucked up. Because why is our culture like that? Like, why do we want, like, because it's like our culture has this undertone of crabs in a barrel or crabs in a bucket mentality, Oh, if you don't like fuck with this person, if you don't fuck with this person, you know, it should just be beef forever. Niggas should just never do nothing together. Like, mind you, like we have seen celebrations of piecing it up as well, but you got certain super hood ass niggas, like, you know, I mean, I noticed some people in the comments is like, yo, man, fuck all that, man. It's, you know, I'm not letting off this nigga neck. And you know, you have your own reasons, which I don't know. But thank you for being here. Thank you for commenting. But at the end of the day, it's two black men trying to feed their family, making good music, trying to make good music. And then you got niggas like Jim Jones, whom I'm personally not a fan of. And I'm personally not a fan of Jim Jones. That is legitimately one of the corniest motherfuckers to me. And he's a street tough. I'm not a street tough. If it came down to some street level shit, he was like, Josh, you better shut the fuck up. I'll beat your ass. I mean, if it's a one-on-one, hey, it's gonna be a good one. But I mean, like, he's got way more tough guys than I do. So I'm gonna be like, yo, all right, whatever nigga you got. Like, hey, like, I ain't stupid. I ain't no bitch, but I ain't stupid, nigga. I mean, like, but he's done a lot of shit that's corny as fuck. That's lame as fuck. The thing that shit that he did with 50 Cent when 50 and Cam was beefing.
Mm-hmm.
He went over to 50 Cent, like, and he was all up in the video just looking like a little brother. And 50 Cent was looking like the actual boss in the thing, like he was actually controlling the energy in the room and the narrative in the room. And Jim Jones just looked like he was happy to be there. Like, oh, I'm making my statement. But like, you look like a little fucking brother to these two niggas. And you got played. And you got the nerve to fix your mouth to talk about another nigga. Oh, hell, maybe he fixing his mouth because, hey, at least I did it. At least I made myself look like a little brother, like, because I was sticking to my goddamn, I'm a tough guy. You know, I'm my Dame Dash morals.
I will say this, and I think we can probably get another good one in before we close out. I will say that as a Jay-Z fan, when him and Nas first did his collab, I was very upset with Jay-Z that Nas watched him in that song. I think I'm fairly confident, and somebody might fact check me in the comments, but I'm fairly confident that the first time post beef that they appeared on the song together was BBC on Magna Carta Holy Grail, and Nas's verse is just so much fucking better than Jay-Z's verse. Like, it's just so much fucking better. One, I think Nas arguably has like top 3, top 4 delivery in all of rap. So I think his delivery is really better than Jay's, like, objectively, in my opinion. Well, subjectively. I mean, but so even like at my core, when I know that what you're saying is right, that people should be able to move past it, people should be able to be adults, like they should be able to like say, hey man, we had these differences, you know, here's what we represent for the culture, blah 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 blah, let's move past this and like let's do some shit together, like let's work, let's do it.
Let's bridges instead of goddamn burning them down.
Yeah.
We are stronger together than apart.
Yeah, but even from that perspective, even knowing that in my heart of hearts, I heard these niggas on the song and I was like, Jay, you gotta get them, man. I was like, Jay, you gotta I was like, Jay, you gotta beat them on the verse. Y'all on the same track. And no, Nas was the best.
But that's collaboration, not conflict. Like them being on the song together, that's the collaboration. It's like, damn, fuck, I would have loved to see Jay-Z like beat him or at least be like on par with his verse versus what Nas did on that thing. That's the collaboration that I think even Jay-Z was talking about. And you know, we have our grievances and things about that, but c'est la vie.
Yeah.
All right, what else we got? What else we want to talk about? I'll let you pick one. Now I'll let you pick one, I guess, and like it's my permission, but please pick one.
If you feel passionately about another one, like I'm good to talk about that because I don't feel passionately about anything we got on the docket.
I do like the Mark Lamont Hill on identifying as a feminist one. I do like that one.
Yeah, I'm good with that one too.
All right. All right, hold on. You're witnessing how the sausage is being made. Give us a time while we get the clip being pulled up. We'll be minutes.
Yeah, I can do just some comedy stylings while we wait, so what's the deal with airline food, everybody?
Hey, you ever wondered about elephants?
Yeah.
How do they remember so well? So
I'm pretty sure J. Cole has read books, but like that shit was just funny because like that whole like I don't be reading, but I understand shit. Like after the No Name situation was just comedy gold. He never even officially said it. He never even really say it like that.
yeah,
He said it in a much more reasonable way. But when niggas took that shit and ran with it, it was too hilarious to not go with the meme.
and that be my thing. Like, like people would take some shit that you say, like just some off the cuff shit, and be like, "Yo,"
He said he said some shit like they were talking about like
you never read a book,
it was like empowerment literature or something, and she was like dropping names on him, and he was like, I ain't read none of that shit. Like he was like, I ain't really need to work on that one, and niggas was like, he ain't read a book.
Yeah.
I was like, that shit. And I'm sorry, that shit was hilarious.
Hilarious, but it's like, come on, like, bro, like, there's a line, okay? Like, we know this nigga has read some shit, but you got to be real careful with what you say. And then again, the internet, that's again why you need to understand how to communicate when you're speaking to the general masses, which could still lead people to, think you're not being genuine, and we all have, of course, plenty of reasons of why that is. But c'est la vie. We shall discuss Mark Lamont Hill catching W's and strays on the Joe Budden podcast as him and B-Dot engaged in a debate after B-Dot argued that Mark, as a man, should not refer to himself as a feminist due to its feminine connotations. Instead, B-Dot suggested he should simply identify as an ally. This is about a 6-minute clip, and
your wife ain't taking it. But and so my wife, when we put clips up sometimes of our podcast and this thing together on Patreon, sometimes she'll say, I don't want to put that out because it's gonna make you look bad, or I don't want to say this thing because I carry, and I'll be like, no, I'm with you, but I'll be like, put it out anyway. I don't care.
Right. So they've been going to each other.
Man, since day one. So also, like, if you want to take a certain position or have a certain politics or just care about the relationship in a certain way, this thing will allow something you're not. It's up to each individual person. I don't think that makes the person a bitch ass nigga. Don't tell me ones or not. So, but it's about what works for your relationship.
I feel like people are changing I feel like people just changing the structure how how things work, though, that people's comfortability. The structure changing.
Would you feel that if the shoe was reversed?
I have a second
question. I do. Wait, what do you tell me what you mean? I think I thought I did.
Because oftentimes, especially who you are, you stand on the side of women's rights. That's for lack of a better term.
He's a feminist.
So if the man was feminist, no, listen.
Yeah, because that's the clean word for what we want to say. Susan B. Anthony or something. He is.
Susan B. Anthony fought for women's suffrage. You don't think women should vote? Of course. So what are we talking about?
He's a feminist.
Kind of to do with being feminist is like calling a black or white person being anti-racist. That's just crazy. Take
now he's sensitive about it.
I'm just saying, like, feminist. You think women should be feminists?
It's just a label that is more aligned with women. That's all.
Right, because we live in a society that doesn't support women.
Words mean things. I'm just saying, if you're a feminist, like it's like
what's a feminist?
A person that supports women's rights.
And you're laughing at me for supporting women's rights?
Yes.
That's crazy.
It's just a label. We need to rebrand the term for men. That's all. I don't know what it looks like, but maybe it needs a rebrand.
Why?
Why not? Because it shouldn't be.
Because it needs to support women's rights.
Because it has the word feminine.
So what?
It's because it's women that you're supporting.
I know, but it just sounds crazy. No, it sounds crazy. No, you don't. A man, you're a feminist. Like, no, I'm not. I support women. I don't know.
So does it sound crazy for a white person to be pro-black because they're not black?
All he's saying. No, I don't. It's false equivalency. All I'm saying is it's a false equivalency. I'm just saying the word feminist sounds crazy when you label it on a man.
Because we're not women.
Exactly. We're not.
So then why is it okay to be pro-black if you're not black?
I'm just saying that we need to find another word for men that support women. Feminist sounds crazy.
And here's what I'm saying in response. The idea that a man supporting a woman or a man having a label that has woman in it, the idea that sounds crazy to you is exactly why we need words like feminism. Yeah, it suggests that anything associated with women shouldn't be attached to men. That's what it means. And that's what Mark's
right. Mark's right, nigga.
You're changing what he's saying.
I'm not changing what he's saying. It sounds crazy for a man to be associated with the word femme.
That's what he said.
Yes, to be supportive of women.
But that doesn't mean he doesn't support the women. I didn't say that.
I didn't say that.
He said it very clear.
That's not what he said.
He said. Let me restate it again.
You my man, bro.
Let me restate what I'm saying.
Mark's
It's different coming from you.
Yes,
Let him talk. Let them nigga fight.
What B-Dot said, if I understand you correctly, I'm responding to it. He supports women. That's not in dispute here. He's saying is that you need to rebrand the title because it sounds crazy for a man to identify as a feminist because it attaches man to the word femme.
Why is that just not a cool, funny point?
Saying the idea that a man is uncomfortable being attached to femme, which I'm feminist, I'm pro-woman, is itself part of the problem. In the same way that if a white person said, hey, I'm pro-black, and I don't want to be associated with the word black, let's have a different name for it so I don't be tied to the word black. You say it's a false equivalent, I'm saying it's not.
You'll be called an ally.
It's the same fucking thing.
What happens? You'll be an ally.
Yes, feminists are allies.
But words mean things. So I'm just saying the word feminist.
You words mean things.
No, because if you attribute the word femme to me, it sounds feminine.
No, but what's
and what's wrong with being feminine?
What about the
Oh, Mark, you know. All right.
Oh man. So my favorite thing about that is like it's like when you get and me and Eddie do this shit all the time, man. It's like if you get a talking nigga talking, eventually they'll say some shit that they ain't even, that don't have nothing to do with nothing. Cause like Mark was like spot on, and then he started getting into a whole different conversation. Like, what's wrong with being feminine? That's a completely different conversation. He's still right. He's still right in how he approached that. But yes, they're arguing semantics. To the point on the chat, they're literally arguing semantics. I also think so. I think we talk about it a lot. Well, have talked about it a lot in the past, where I understand so much why Mark is on that podcast, because he's trying to meet niggas where they are. I think that Joe and Mona saw that B Dot was being stupid with that, and they just be fine with them being stupid, because that's like that offhand point that Joe made where he was like, why can't that just be a stupid funny point and we move on? And I think that like the world lives in this space where they let the stupid funny points go, and then all of a sudden the stupid funny points become an ideology. You know, like red pill shit started as stupid funny points. So I think Mark is trying to cut off the stupid funny points like at the knees a little bit by being on that podcast, in addition to the fact that this also allows him to get money. He's also said that before too. But it's also like at some point you can't let these niggas rile you up. Like and I know I'm saying that in a way that like I've had to continue to learn, because the way that like I have to approach conversations with Eddie, you know, this ain't nothing I ain't never told this nigga, and he also gonna see this live, but like I have to approach Eddie differently now, because I have the sneaky suspicion that Eddie will sometimes just like poke the bear just to poke the bear. So the way I try to approach Eddie is like, I'm just gonna be like, you know, here's my point. Here's my you know, like here's my point. You know, like this is what I'm saying. Yeah. And he'll be like, well, this I understand. I'm like, I understand that that's what you're saying. My bad if I didn't, you know, express myself the right way. But you know, and it's not even just like you know, looking at the comments, it's not even education. Like I do that to Eddie too. Like I've done that to Eddie too. So I think we've had to learn how to like navigate each other in a way that allows the conversation to be productive. Because I do think what Mark does a lot is, so I understand that he can't do what Joe is doing. He can't just let the stupid funny thing continue to be the stupid funny thing, because that's how you build the ideology. That's how you get a horde of like young niggas that are scared to be called a feminist because it has like fem in it, which is like on its face, just being frank, that's kind of dumb. But he approaches it in a way that it's like you discount your argument when you got to do all this yelling and like backflips and shit and like, you know what I mean, and then like you get all worked up for absolutely no reason. But ultimately I do agree with Mark.
Yeah, I mean, I was kind of surprised to see him get so animated about it, but also part of me think that's also like his showmanship, as to
that's a good point. That's a
you
good
know
point.
him being like, cause you know, and also motherfucker been on scene, like the stakes of the stages that he had been on prior to this podcast. No, it don't compare. Like, you know what I'm saying? So of course, like he is more equipped and in depth to have these conversations, but of course, I think there's also like a little bit of showmanship in there too. But him, you know, get a little, because it was almost like that sort of same, and almost the same energy when he was like had that argument with Flip, when him and Flip was about to like, you know, quote unquote get into like a little scuffle,
a little tussle, you know,
a little tussy. But my thing is like, the fact of the matter is that, for one, I like B-Dot as a musical journalist, but the more I hear like when people you like as who they are, you know, in their profession, like when you see them online, but when you start hearing their basic thoughts on life and the shit that they might be teaching their children, or just saying, or just how they think about certain shit, I'm like, okay, did not need to know that about you. Like, what you really think, like, you like, because I I don't want to say I get it, but it's just something I've just grown to become accustomed to, with how with what certain niggas think and how dumb it can be at times in terms of semantics. You don't want to be referenced as a feminist just because it has the word fem in it. Your masculinity or potentially some homophobia will not allow you to say you just straightforward support women or support women's rights as a feminist just because it had just because your masculinity is like, oh no, hell no. Like that is insane to me. I will say one other thing to this, and Alvin, if you have something else to jump on. I honestly, when I literally first read the title, I was like, oh, okay, that's cool. Like Mark Lamont Hills considers himself a feminist. I immediately thought to myself, was like, what I consider myself a feminist? And my immediate thought, my first gut reaction was no, I wouldn't consider myself a feminist. But the reason why I wouldn't consider myself a feminist in terms of how I kind of thought about it before is I'm not necessarily boots on the ground putting in the work that women are putting in for women's rights on a day-to-day basis. So it's more of a thing of I don't feel like I have the right to call myself a feminist. However, I am an ally. And that was before when I saw B Dot, you should just say you're an ally. I literally thought no, I would definitely consider myself an ally, but I don't know if I would consider myself a feminist because I don't think I've lived up to what that standard is in the truest sense of what that word actually means. You know what I mean?
I think that is probably the only reasonable take I've heard for a man since this has come out from a man saying that they didn't want to be called a feminist. So thank you for because I do think so a lot of this is about the connotations of what it means to be a feminist, right? And and somebody mentioned it in the chat. So a lot of this was about the connotations of what a feminist is. So there's what a feminist is from a textbook perspective, and then there's what niggas think you say when you're a feminist. So there's this idea that, and they were 100% trying to put this on Mark to amp him up as a part of the show. But they are 100% saying that if you're a man and you say you're a feminist, you're soft, you let women run all over you, you one of these performative male soy boy non-beta beta male niggas. But there's that. But there's also what I think you're where you're leaning into, which is the more measured connotation, which is feminist is an activist in the space. Right. Mm-hmm. So if you're saying I'm a feminist in the same way that I'm saying that I'm an activist or I'm a civil rights leader, sort of connotations. If you're saying that you haven't done the work to be considered an activist in that space, and that's why you don't want to call yourself a feminist, and you want to say that you're an ally because you support everything that they stand for.
Yes,
I think that is the only reasonable take that I've heard from a man since this came out about not wanting to be called a feminist. So shout out to you, Josh.
Thank you.
Shout out to you.
Hey, I'm flawed, but I try to get it right every now and then,
Yeah.
But it's just so funny that type of shit can trigger a nigga to where he be nah, fuck that, repeal women's voting rights back because hell nah, you ain't about to say attach me with anything fem. Ain't nothing about me feminine, nigga. It's stupid as hell because say for instance, right? Certain colorways are more inherently feminine, right?
Yes.
You got and mind you, these tough guys be wearing feminine as fuck colorways. If we want to look at it a certain type of way, if we want to keep all things consistent, but you wearing feminine ass shoes because they look fly, they look fresh. You got a matching outfit you can wear with it, right?
Mm-hmm.
So what do it matter? If something is feminine, you just not think about it. Oh, this is just outside the ordinary. I just discovered color palettes now. Come on, my nigga. And I've become accustomed to it, but at the same time, I'm always surprised by what niggas think and how they can associate shit to just hang on to this thing of masculinity. If you accept yourself being a feminist or standing up for women's rights, but that's somehow an attack on you. You need to do some soul searching because it ain't that goddamn deep. Because they're talking to Mark like it's not that deep. Oh, if I don't want to be associated with film, it ain't that deep. No, nigga, you actually might need to think about it in the reverse. Because that's the reason why the society is so goddamn against women, because there's an undertone of anything film being less than masculine, less worthy, less da-da-da-da, all the shit. And just a label say, oh, and mind you, again, the reason why I didn't identify myself as a feminist, I don't think I put in the work. I wouldn't say I'm an activist, just like you rightfully pointed out. But hell, with that explanation, then I guess technically I would be a feminist. But I just feel more comfortable saying I'm an ally because I can stand by that shit 100% of the time without there being any discrepancy in what I mean and the actions that I take on a day-to-day basis.
Yeah. Yeah, man. It's just like, and it's like, okay. So I think that like an interesting conversation that like I would like to get into probably another day is like even what I just said, even what we've all kind of like talked about in the past of like Mark's purpose there, like they're clearly trying to I think you're right. I think you hit it on the head. I think some of it is his showmanship. I think he's trying to balance being a showman and bringing value in terms of clicks and views to that podcast so that he can remain on the podcast. And I think that he's on the podcast. You know, there's definitely some monetary gain there from that perspective, which he has said explicitly. Like that's not speculation. But what is speculation is that he's also there again to be the voice of reason, he is literally a race scholar, a respected one, like a professor, to kind of push back on some of the more like toxic like ethos that comes out of that podcast. I also saw Mona doing that in a way that I thought was going to be much more effective before Joe hushed her down because he knew it was because he knew that this was going to be a viral moment because Joe's doing podcast shit. He's podcasting. And like Mona was finna shut that shit down in such a clear and concise way. So I think when I see Mona be able to do like that, like in a way that I think probably would have probably made it like I think a much more productive conversation. Like is Mark Lamont's heel like role on that show enough when he has to balance it with trying to drive like viral moments consistently to justify his place? And I know that's kind of like a nebulous kind of comment, but that's something that like I've been thinking about since like I really dissected like Mona's approach to that situation because Mona's cool as fuck all the time. Like she don't get rattled too much. I'm not saying I agree with all her points, but like she hit them niggas in the throat like real smooth and calculated, like pretty consistently.
But I think it's also like that. Okay, so two things. One, I definitely did want to hear what Mona had to say in that, and I didn't care for the fact that Joe like hushed her down. I didn't care for that because I wanted to, because it's crazy because there's a panel full of niggas, and niggas is going back and forth about feminism. Like, and there's a woman right there. So I would always want to hear what the woman in the room got to say. You know what I mean? So I would have liked to hear what she has to say, what she would have had to say in that instance. And then the second part of what you were saying about Mona's presence on the show, I agree with you. Like she is always like cool. Like she's never like necessarily like rattled, but that's just who she is. Like she good. And I mean, she said this about herself before, like, but she a straight up bitch from Philly. Like, you know what I'm saying? She a bitch from Philly. Like, you know what I'm saying? Like, but like went in like, but she's got that it factor, kind of like a Deontay Kyle. Like he a nigga from Atlanta, but he got that stage presence of that star power. He know how to talk or like create viral moments. And that is a skill that a lot of people don't have. So I think like, you know, and even though like Mona, I wouldn't like rely on Mona specifically for like gender politics, you know, content and information. I would have liked to see what she would have had to say in that setting or in that moment.
Especially because she was basically just low key agreeing with Mark. She was basically backing him up, man. Joe, that shit was crazy, man. Like again, also the mind of a Joe Budden to be able to Svengali that shit, to conduct that shit like in real time, where he's like, no, let him fight. Like shh. He's getting worked up. This shit's gonna be number one on TikTok tomorrow. That kind of shit. Like
this is a good moment. Like let's let it breathe, let it happen. Then you can speak your piece after the fact. And I mind you didn't see the whole episode, so she probably did weigh in. Joe literally brought her into the show not to play that role because Melissa was doing that and they hated that shit.
That's a fairly decent point. That's a fairly decent point.
I mean, I feel like they had to. I feel like the dynamic with Melissa Ford and the pod versus Mona, I like Mona's dynamic on the pod more than Melissa's dynamic. Because there are, and I'm not against like I hate like expressing like again over a mic to people about a displeasure of a person that just so happens to be a woman. But I didn't care for like some of the things Melissa Ford did or how she approached certain things, and I also didn't care for how she would be treated and be quieted on other things too. But I like Mona's fit better than Melissa's Ford at the end of, at the end of the day.
I definitely think she fits better. But
Yeah.
I see your point on both points to be sure.
Yeah. Do you want? Okay, it's Dilla's choice. It's your show, baby. You want to do one more? We calling it.
Want to do a quick one? Want to do La Russell real quick and then close it out?
Perfect. Yes, we will. Yes, perfect. We will do perfect. We are all heaven sent. We are all heaven sent. Almost there. Boom. We are there. And we are potted. Here's La Russell. We are all heaven sent. Or not. Okay, hold on. There we go.
I sent it off to my engineer, and he calls me. He said, man, you probably shouldn't put this out. I said, why? What the hell happened? He said, you talk about Epstein, it's a lot of shit going on. And I said, thank you for calling me. I'm finna drop this. I'm not perfect, and neither is the president. Was guiltier than a nigga hiding evidence. You can't be mad that they heated if you don't let them vent. Even the devil was heaven sent. Even Malcolm was heaven sent. Even Martin was heaven sent. Even Kanye was heaven sent. We all heaven sent. Donald too. We all heaven sent. Epstein too. We all heaven sent.
Bruh.
Adolf too. We all heaven sent. Even you. We all heaven sent.
It's killed me every time.
He does not know the definition of heaven sent.
And instead of just saying this shit, the La Russell like 5 video follow-up tour after this shit, trying to just like double, triple, quadruple, quintuple down on this shit was the most hilarious shit in my life. Like all niggas was trying to say is that you don't know what heaven sent means typically. And this nigga like, y'all can't police my art. Y'all can't do this. I'm just like, I wouldn't change a thing about what I said. I'm like, you could have just been like, my bad, man. And everybody would have laughed for a day. You would have been the butt of the joke on Twitter for a day, and everybody would have moved on. This nigga kept releasing videos trying to get people to understand what he was saying. That shit was hilarious.
Oh, I see. The crazy thing, I didn't even see I didn't see none of the videos that happened after that when he was
my God.
Okay, that's what I really wish I could have seen. Because I did just see like one random video from like one of his friends. That's I guess like a girl that's in a circle, or a woman that's in a circle. They just, they was having like a game out of some shit. They were just having a good time, like, oh. And then her caption was like, oh, no matter what they're saying to us about on the internet, we ain't famous. We having a good time over here. You know what I'm saying? It's like, but nigga, what do you mean? Like, what the fuck do you mean, my nigga? What is the point?
His explanation was what he was trying to in a clever way explain that all of us are still God's creations, right? That God creates in a dichotomy that is both good and evil. The devil was God's creation, like that kind of stuff. And I don't know if he was going to take it in deeper from that and try to like explain like some of the nuance of what that means. Like there's situations where there's like, the banality of evil kind of argument. There's the situation where you could talk about redemption arcs. There's the situation where you can talk about, again, you can go into the story of Lucifer, you know, as an angel, as a fallen angel, that kind of shit. It could have been, I think it could have been something, but like he basically just called people stupid for not understanding what what he was trying to say. He was like, y'all niggas stupid. I'm the one that know what heaven sent meant. Y'all niggas don't understand what heaven sent meant. Like, and it was just hilarious that, again, people were trying to, like, there are people who were approaching him with obviously the usual, like, you know, social media shit, you know, like calling them stupid, all that kind of shit. But there were also a lot of people that were just like, hey man, like, we just saying that you don't know that heaven sent is a well-known colloquial, like, you know, phrase, like that has a meaning and you not using it right. And he was like, fuck you, you can't tell me how to use my art. Like,
tell me how to speak and how to use this. That is hilarious. I'm an artist and I'm sensitive about my shit. No, sir.
That's really what the nigga was saying the whole time. He released follow-up videos just saying that shit. That nigga was releasing like walking trail, like fucking videos and shit. And I'm just like, man, like, Jigga didn't hit you up, you know, after the second video when you fucked that up.
Bruh.
Real talk, the engineer tried to save, man. The engineer really was heaven sent.
He really did. The engineer was indeed heaven sent, but he chose not to listen. So
Yeah.
that tells us all we need to know about LaRussell. By the way, shout out to you, Old Grease. Hold on, I got you. Give me a second.
Thank you for the Grammy.
I've seen it so much, I'm wondering if he played us. You seen what so much? But I ain't gonna hold you, bro. Like, he got me with the first, like, he was heaven sent. Like, when he said, like, Lucifer was heaven sent, I'm like, okay, all right, well, we're going with this because technically he was. Technically,
He finna get deep.
Yeah, exactly. Hey, this nigga might be spitting. But no, it fell off. It fell off immediately once he started bringing up current niggas. Like, no, sir.
The shit that got me was like, he went through that shit and he said even Malcolm, like he was trying to say Malcolm, like Lucifer was heaven sent, but like even this nigga Malcolm X was heaven sent. Like, what does that mean? Like, what is he talking about? Like, from jump.
And then everyone's joke, everyone's collective joke is like, nigga, what the fuck you mean? Even you, even me?
Yeah.
What I gotta do with this? Why you putting me involved?
Exactly. Like, what the
with Epstein? Like, nigga, what?
Oh my god,
bro.
But like for real, like this nigga didn't do this shit on some like publicity type stuff because that nigga deactivated like across like the board for at least a little while. I think he's back on IG, but I don't think he's back on Twitter yet because they was flaming this nigga relentlessly.
Oh, look, that's
like relentless.
And I think that's a common theme for the night when it comes to being a public figure or speaking into a mic and expressing your thoughts, ideas, and opinions, and you know, speaking your truth, and also needing some media training to be able to speak to the masses so that you're actually getting your points across clearly and concisely.
And also, like,
hold up, is this my fault? Hold on, give me 1 second. All right, hold on. Old Grease, you're cooking, baby. Hold on, goddamn it. Hold on. Let me.
Victory screech!
Like he made shit to make it stink. Everyone noticed. Oh, stink. Everyone know.
I also think that like there's something to be said about when you're wrong, just being like, okay, cool, missed the mark on that one. My bad. I'm gonna release the remix. I'm gonna really, you know what I'm saying?
You get it right.
Yeah, I'm gonna get it right on the remix. You know, my engineer is already working on this one for me. My engineer got me. You know, we in the stew. We cooking.
God made him.
Yeah.
Because Lord have mercy. Yeah.
He really could have did that shit. He could have did God made him parenthesis heaven sent, like remix, heaven sent remix. Boom. You capitalized on it now, my nigga. Like shit.
Because that would have changed the whole song. What? Okay. All right. Because you know what? Okay. And you know what? I would have much rather him, or maybe he did do this because I didn't see all the you know, the double and triple down videos. But maybe, and I mean, maybe it's easy because like he wanted a conversation to be had around morality and redemption potentially, and for the humankind to have, you know, to lead with forgiveness and be Christian, turn the other cheek, you know, still give love to your neighbors or even your enemies. Like love thy enemy as you would your neighbor. Basically, like that whole thing. Because in order to love your enemy like your neighbor, you might fuck around and say, "Goddamn, Epstein was heaven sent." But that ain't how you want to say it. I wouldn't say that shit.
I don't think you should
even know how the fuck
Pick a different example, my nigga. Like again, it's some conversation to be had there. Pick better examples, pick better phrasing. You'll be just fine. You'll shake this one off, LaRussell. You got Rock Nation behind you.
For sure. The crazy thing, bro, I've never heard I don't want to say I have never knowingly heard a LaRussell song. And I was like, oh, this song, oh, that's LaRussell. Like I probably heard some of his songs, like, oh shit, I didn't know that was his song.
This the only LaRussell song I've ever heard. I ain't even gonna hold you, like for real. Everything I've heard about LaRussell has been against my will. So
yeah, it's been like timeline type shit, and it wasn't half of it wasn't even music.
Exactly.
Like, we ain't got no beef with the.
Yeah, I ain't got no beef. Ain't got no beef with LaRussell.
Just to be clear. If you want to come on the pod one day, brother, you are more than welcome, and we will definitely ask you about Heaven Sent. But yeah, it ain't no beef. It ain't no, you know, whatever.
Yeah, 100%, man.
It just is what it is, and like you've never heard of us before either. And that's fine.
Exactly. Even the podcast was Heaven Sent. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm. you.
All right, man. But we'll close it out on that one. So, if you're a hip hop fan, engaging in the discourse, but the people around you don't want to let people move past, old beefs, you might be seeing a red flag. However, if you are a male that doesn't want to be called a feminist because it has the prefix fem in it strictly, you might be waving a red flag. It has been Alvin. It has been Josh. Again, Eddie was a little busy doing a world tour to sell his underwater basket weaving products. But he will be back in due time. We do want to continue to thank all of the people that joined us in the live. Y'all made it very fun. Y'all really kept the conversation going when it died a little bit. So bouncing off of y'all has been great. We want to thank all of our people that are members and subscribers on all platforms. Please continue to do that. Anybody who's interested, please go ahead and cop that card game. We are shipping. We got a few people that were able to get their orders in recently. Make sure that you're tracking to have some of the smartest yet dumbest conversations you've ever had in your life. New card game has double the prompts, double the fun. And with that, that's a pod.
Absolutely.
It's a red flag. Stevie Wonder could see that's a red flag.
We'll see y'all next week. Y'all take care of yourselves. Y'all be safe out here. Y'all love one another. And yeah, thank y'all so much for tuning in. Like Alvin stated so eloquently. We will see y'all next week.